Hello, guys. Braxcast time once again. This is the 93rd episode of the Braxcast, and we've got the Norfrica concept art book. Of course, we'll be diving into this and going through every single page. But before we do that, to get out of the way, the Rippa Fest did end early in December, and Mr. Snail is the community choice creator of the season. Did a great video on Dirty Deeds. We watched that on live stream last night. Of course, I'm posting this on Saturday. That was a fantastic stream, so congrats to Mr. Snail. And as far as I know, the other winners have not been announced yet, but I'm sure that is to come in the weeks to come, maybe by the end of the year, maybe early into New Year's. Haven't quite made that determination yet. And then also Blood Roof number 2 and the 5th Ripazine are delayed due to printing issues into, I believe, quarter 2 2020, or I believe quarter 1 2026 instead of the end of this year. So that's basically all the Rippaverse news, other than the Rippa Works that hit the 50K goal. I believe it's on its way to 60K if it hasn't made it past that way already. But that really is all of the news for the Rippaverse this week. There wasn't too much going on. Of course, it's the end of the year. Things are winding down. It's just before Christmas, so not too many big announcements. People are gearing up for that holiday season. So we are going to go into the original concept art of Norfrica. Of course, I read and reviewed Norfrica Glorious Death. I really liked that first issue. I think Eric did a bang-up job. Of course, Arnoldson Friere did a great job on the art. And we've got the concept art to dive into. This is Marcos Rios doing the concept art, as he's done the concept art for basically all of the Rippaverse. And of course, Jen and Sylvia Saska are doing the narration for this really cool concept art book. And it's about 30 pages, so let's get right into this. So for Norfrica, the characters definitely felt like they were made bigger and more powerful than the usual designs I do. Eric made sure to help me understand that these characters played very important parts in the story and wanted to make them look like strong deities, most of them being inspired by Norse mythos. He really gave me a lot of freedom with these characters, and I was greatly pleased when we designed them one by one, and Eric would just react with a damn, that's good. If the fans end up loving this book and want more Norfrica, I'd be thrilled to design more characters like those already featured. Tall, big, majestic, and powerful for a sequel. They're a lot of fun to work out. That's from Marcos Rios. So we're getting into the first character. This is Valadon as an 8-year-old being 5'3", which is 63 inches tall. The youngest son of the House of Alfdor. We meet Valadon on the pages of Glorious Death many years before even meeting Takari or forming their band Norfrica. Here Valadon is a young boy and is revealed that an Asgarth's lifespan is far greater than those of Middengard's. A pale small boy with bright red shoulder-length hair and mesmerizing blue eyes in a tan tunic, brown pants, and leather-strapped boots. He wears an impressive quiver on his back with many arrows. Around his neck is a necklace with a large stone fastened by 2 cords. He has a youthful, curious expression and is more emotive than we shall see him in the future, as learning to control his emotions in battle is an important training in his archery. And of course, you see his father training him in archery in the very beginning scenes of this book, Norfrica Glorious Death number 1. I do like this character design. It's quite simplistic. Next, we've got Alfdor. So Alfdor is the mighty Allfather of Asgarth and head of the House of Alfdor, 6.5 feet tall, or 6'5", I should say, 275 pounds. He wears a dark brown hooded cloak with gold embellishments, 3 spheres, one on each shoulder and one on the center of his back with lines joining them together. A battle-worn great warrior. His left eye is foggy and blinded. His remaining eye is a shining blue. His long hair and beard are white from age. He has a muscular form which can be seen from his bare chest and upper arms. There are fur-rimmed dark brown and gold gauntlets on his forearms. Around his waist, a leather and fur belt with gold, fur-lined leather boots on his feet. There is an otherworldly majesty to his appearance. So I do like this character design. Of course, this character is very much so based around Odin. So Odin is the, I'd say, main inspiration for this, because this is taken from Norse mythology. Of course, you play God of War. Odin is referred to as the All-Father. I believe that's in the Norse mythos, which again, the Norse mythos that exists today is not the Norse mythos that existed in the oral tradition of the Scandinavian pagans that were spreading these myths, because a lot of that got abandoned when they converted to Christianity. It's really just what the Christians cared to preserve. They didn't really preserve all of it, because a lot of it, like I said, very much an oral tradition, very ritualistic, which becomes lost once the shamans abandon the idols for the living god. Right. Next, we've got Freya. Wife to Alfdor and mother to Valadan and his brothers. She's the matriarch of the family to the realm, a beautiful goddess. Her long red locks are intertwined with gray styled in a braid over the top of the side. Her aquamarine eyes are dazzling, her lips and nails dark. She wears a flowing long black dress with aquamarine and red embellishments. Black high heels on her feet give her a feminine feel, making her taller than her 6'3" height. She wears delicate hanging earrings with a golden necklace with a pendant in the shape of an S around her neck. There's an overall warmth to her design. As you read more about Freya, you'll see I wanted to create a character that felt like a true mother figure, solid, reliable, and unshakable in her role. She's firm and carrying herself with that strength that not only stands beside her husband, but complements him in every way. At the same time, she never loses that motherly air, the warmth and resolve that define how she treats her family and the people around her. Marcos brought that vision to life, perfectly giving her a dignified presence with the red hair streaked with gray, the long flowing dress, and the signature necklace that ties her look together. I think this is a very good thing. Of course, I think like the actual Freya and Odin, I don't think they had the best relationship. And that's very typical of like the pagan gods. Like Zeus did not have a good relationship with Hera. I don't think Odin had a good relationship with Freya. We're very much like just superpowered men and women. In fact, that they had very toxic relationships with each other. But of course, Eric's got a very different like ethos with using mythology in these stories and wants to have like these solid like families that actually care about each other, which you definitely can do. And like I said, this is mythology, this is fiction, and a lot of it isn't really going to line up to what was actually being worshipped back in those days. So I'm really fine with all these like taking these liberties with the mythos because I think that's really what you want to do. So next character is Bragar, the oldest of Alfdor's and Freya's sons. Bragar 6'10" and muscular, but possesses the wisdom of his age, where he would rather advocate for peace than run into battle. Brown eyes with light brown hair and a beard. He has a kind face. He wears a green tunic with gold designs at the bottom, a leather belt with a gold buckle around his waist, and brown leather-wrapped boots. There are bright orange tattoos on each of his forearms that start at the back of his hands and spiral around to his elbow. And he's got a harp going on, and I like all these designs. They're very simplistic. But they do, I think, get the point across of this being like mythological as well as it being like this medieval style, right? Because there's not like, because it's based on Norse mythology, and that really comes from basically antiquity and the early Middle Ages. So that's where you get the ethos coming from. So we got Vidor next, the second oldest of the sons, and a huge warrior standing at 7 feet tall, massively muscular, a true brute of a man, a few words, bald with a black beard and dark brown eyes, shirtless, wears brown leather gauntlets and leather and fur pants. His boots are silver with gold embellishments. The boot also features dragon teeth, which can grab onto things. Brown belt with a large golden buckle. Vidor left home with his brother Bragar. As is custom with the oldest siblings, they occasionally return for family dinners or more pressing matters. And of course, those pressing matters happen in the first issue of Norfrica Glorious Death. And they're probably the two like main characters. So we've got Balor, the third youngest and of Alfdor's and Freya's sons. We meet Baldur as a young man and the oldest still residing at the house of Alfdor. Handsome, cheery with aquamarine eyes and shoulder-length golden hair. He wears a golden breastplate with a blue cape with a golden design that matches the armor on the backside. Around his waist is a cloth and leather base with gold embellishments, as well as 2 scabbards to hold the 2 silver and gold swords that he double wields. He wears gold wrist cuffs and golden boots. 5'10", 140 pounds. He's a fearless warrior who would even go into battle alone to avenge his family and his people. So definitely a little bit of a runt character in comparison, but it probably still means that he's going to be like quicker. He's still going to have his own strength. Going to be like a master swordsman if you're dual wielding them. I don't think again the 2 older brothers are the ones who have the biggest role. So you've got, of course, if I can flip the pages correctly, Vidor and Bragar. Bragar are the ones who have the 2 bigger roles in this story. And then we've got Tyr, the second youngest, just a boy when we meet him in the story. Tyr has short brown hair, red eyes, and a mischievous expression. He wears a brown tunic with brown leather with brown leather with brown leather strap boots around his waist and around his waist with a golden buckle. Not much is known about the adult. Not much is known about the adult this young god will grow into. His biting wit and sharp sense of humor keeps his brothers and family on their toes. Who knows his enemies? Who knows how his enemies will end up seeing him in battle? Again, it's the same thing basically with Valadon at this point. Although we have an impression of who Valadon is, because we've seen him as an adult, we haven't really seen much of him as an adult, and we don't see that much of Valadon in Norfrica Glorious Death. It's really focusing on this conflict between the basically Asgarth, if I'm getting it correctly, with like Jotunheimel. So it's just like this realm warfare, and Valadon's basically too young to be involved in that. And of course, he's going to have to step into that if you read the end of that. But in that situation, he was the one who didn't fell out of the pecking order to be involved in that conflict. So this is Angrea, the young-looking, gorgeous goddess and the ambassador between the realms of Asgarth and Jotunheimel, and she's the one who watches over and protects the gate between the two worlds. On the Asgarth side, tall, slender, completely white eyes and long white hair that reaches her ankles, wears a baby blue Norse-style dress with gray fur embellishments in cyan leather boots, gray gloves and boots, fair skin, voluptuous figure, 6 foot, free, 175 pounds. She's not a warrior, but rather acts as a diplomat between the two worlds. When I set out to reimagine the character that guarded the ways, I knew I wanted to do something different, something that stood apart from the expected. That vision became Angrea, tall, commanding, with white hair and white eyes that gave her an otherworldly presence. Marcos took what I had in mind and brought her to life with a baby blue Norse-inspired dress, mixing elegance and raw strength in a way only he could. The end result is a character who doesn't just guard things, she redefines and commands them. I do absolutely love this character design. Of course, Angrea is featured on one of the, I believe, cover C, if I'm getting it correctly, of Norfrica Glorious Death. They always love to do like these shots of very beautiful women on the covers. Of course, Cursed had that with Liliana Renashi, I believe, with cover B. Of course, we've got Dirty Deeds #1 featuring Rinlin, I believe, for cover C as well. So these drawings of like these very sexy women just taking up the entire cover is one, I'm here for it, and I'm definitely here for Angrea. Very, very nice character design. So we've got Blugoa, if I'm even saying any of these names correctly, the ambassador of the Jotun and giant who watches the Jotunheimel side of the gate of Asgarth. Blogada doesn't care for empty flattery. Her main objective is the protection of her people, who have less human-like features than those who reside on the other side of the gate. 10 feet tall, pale blue skin, deep red hair and eyes, red hair so long that it even serves as a cape. She wears a mauve cutout catsuit with bare arms, chest, and stomach. Red nails, barefoot, bright red rune markings on her face, chest, arms, and knees and feet. She suffers no fools and is unlikely to make allies with those not from her realm. So definitely an interesting character design. Certainly one is going to be a bit more intimidating than Angrea, given the fact that she's 10 feet tall, probably the tallest character we've talked about so far, but she doesn't have like that massive, like wide build. So more womanly build. Next, we've got Berglimir, the military sergeant of the Jotunheimel. This giant stands at 9 feet tall and weighs 320 pounds with a muscular warrior frame. He is one of the terrifying giants who inhabit this realm, a truly intimidating defender of these lands. He's intense, untrusting, and savage. His skin is light gray. His short hair and long braided beard are white. There are lavender markings on his face. He wears sleeveless armor and with a tunic and tall boots, all in dark leathers and furs. His eyes are a pale tan. Berglimir hates outsiders, in particular the Asgarth, who he deems untrustworthy and foolhardy. You definitely see that coming up in the first and basically it causes the climax of Norfrica Glorious Death. So the sister to Blagada, this is the giant who protects the gate between the Jotunheimel and Muspelheim. Heimel on the Jotun side, standing 10 feet tall. She is an immense giant And Men's Giant, her skin is pale blue, and her eyes a darker blue. The hair has a surreal look, moving unnaturally, almost taking the same characteristics of the smoke that emits from her body. Feels like steam or mist. She has dark gray rune markings all over her body and face. She wears a sleeveless gray with white form-fitting catsuit with side cutouts and white gauntlets. I absolutely do love this design. Again, there's a lot of characters introduced in Norfrica, and you get these very brief introductions to them. So you're basically just getting introduced to basically the world itself, and the characters are just like there along for the ride. It kind of feels like that. But there definitely was a lot of thought put into the character designs and placing them correctly and having this be a coherent world. And of course, we've got the end of Norfrica Glorious Death, which is going to basically very well set us up for the introduction of Takari. I believe it's Nyandile, if I'm getting it correctly. So we've got Ladirio, the military enforcer known as Ladiro. I'm not even sure how to say it. It's not to be fooled with. This horrifying beast of a man can easily cripple a god with his astonishing strength. 10 feet tall, gray skin with mauve markings on his face, chest, shoulders, arms, hands, and feet. Has 2 horns growing out of his forehead, 2 large horns out of his chest, and 2 smaller ones beside them. Long braided red-brown hair, whereas red and brown pants with a red coral embellishments with a taupe trim, massive muscular body, 4 arms, ember orange eyes with no pupils. That's definitely quite the look. I forget there's a Mortal Kombat character. I believe it's Goro. It's got 4 arms. This kind of reminded me of that with that going on. And basically that's really the only thing in terms of like that Mortal Kombat character. But I do love this design. I'd love to see him duke it out against Shodron. That would be really interesting. I doubt that's going to happen, but that would be a really cool thing to see how they fight. Not necessarily Santuan. I think Santuan probably would get his butt handed to him by that guy, Ladiro, however you say it. So next we've got Solicio, a wild, chaotic elf of the Muspelheimel who will no longer tolerate the injustices put upon his people when they were meant for so much more. Tan skin, bright red eyes, elf ears, longish gold and black hair, wears brown leathers in a tunic with torn baggy pants, brown chest plate with red markings, brown gloves, and boots with yellow embellishments, 5 feet 10, powered by the flames of Muspelheimel, and so deadly that only the most skilled and seasoned warriors could hope to best him. This flying menace will burn anything in his path to achieve his desires. I wanted to bring in the complete opposite of the structured, orderly world we had already built. Everybody loves a good trickster, the kind of character who shows up, stirs the pot, and makes you question where things are headed, and that's exactly what he does. He's fiery in every sense of the word, with that light red skin, flame-like hair, and devilish features, wrapped in baggy, battle-ready clothing that sets him apart from the others. Marcos nailed that chaotic energy, giving him a look that screams unpredictably in danger, making sure you know Solicio is here to shake everything up, and he certainly does do that in the book. And we've got Solvara, is like soul, like the sun. The Muspel elf acts as an advisor and the right-hand lady to the notorious Solicio. She's a stoic figure, 5'9", beautiful, long blonde hair and elf ears, as is common with the Muspel. She has multiple earrings through each ear, light red/salmon-colored skin with orange markings on her legs. She wears a flowing red and brown dress with high heels, pink eyes, sharp dark nails, and a hateful expression. She would follow Solicio into even the most murderous of ploys for their people. The goal of Solvara was to drop just enough to spark the curiosity without putting all the cards on the table. You see her alongside Solicio after the gates are shut, hitting her ability to weave spells, and that alone should tell you her presence is dangerous. Who she is and what she fully represents, we're not ready to give that away, but make no mistake, her connection to Solicio sets the stage for real problems down the line, and that collaboration could bring serious trouble for anyone in their path, like a supernatural Michael Copper in the Lena Renashi. Kind of reminds me of that. And again, it's this like slow burn. And I do like that with the Rippaverse. It's just like, I need that number 2 for Norfrica Glorious Death, because I'm really excited to see where the story is going. And it's not just these 2 characters. Of course, it's just the conflict in general between the Asgarth and the Muspelheim and the Jotunheimel, and then how Takari plays into this. There's just so much stuff that's going on that I don't think 4 issues of Norfrica is really going to give us everything the fans want with all the ideas that they have. So hopefully they do another limited series, or they just make an ongoing series that just picks up from the end of Glorious Death. That's what I want. So we've got Ira, the radiant pale goddess, makes her home in the Liburg region of Asgard. The healer radiates a peaceful energy, 6'2", beautiful blonde with pure white skin, platinum blonde hair, and azure blue eyes. She wears white robes with golden embellishments that match her hair. The same colored gold on her fingerless gloves and boots. She wears a golden tiara with the same gold gemstone in the same color gold gemstone in the center. She's been an ally to Freya and the House of Alforder for many years, doing her best to heal those maimed and broken from battle, although she cannot always guarantee such a recovery. And definitely she's got her work set out for her. If you read the end of Norfrica'S Glorious Death, I believe that is the last character, so that was like 31 pages in total. No canon page, like the commitment to the canon would have been nice if it was printed like here or like on the inside of the page, but this is just a concept art book, although they've done it for some of the art books before. So that's really my only quote-unquote criticism. Of course, I did kind of stumble for reading this a lot. These Norse names are really picking doing a number on me, and also might be having a little bit of an off day. But hopefully you guys enjoy this one regardless. This is a fantastic book. Did learn a lot about the characters, so I recommend picking this up after reading Norfrica'S Glorious Stuff #1, because like I said, there's a lot of characters that get introduced, and reading through this does really help you make sense of all the characters that get introduced. But of course, it's not 100% necessary. Hopefully, if you guys don't buy this book and you read this one, even though I fumbled through all the readings, basically, hopefully you got some information, insight into the character art for Norfrica'S Glorious Death. Great job to Marcos Rios for doing the designs. Of course, Eric July's creative input on getting the characters designed, of course, writing the script. And that is really all I have for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy this episode. Joker is out.
Thank you for tuning in to the Braxcast. Be sure to like, comment, follow, and subscribe to keep up with the Rippaverse.